This is the McKinsey podcast, where we help you make sense out of our world's toughest business challenges.
Welcome to the show. I'm Lucia Rahili.
And I'm Roberta Fasaro. What should business leaders focus on this year when it comes to innovation in consumer electronics? We're going to explore that question on this special edition of the McKinsey podcast, because McKinsey was at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas this week. And of course, all the talk was about what AI can do. But Bob Sternfels, McKinsey's global managing partner, says there are three things that humans can exclusively do, and that is aspire, set parameters, and think creatively.
Aspire. Set the right aspiration. That's a uniquely human capability. So how do you look for the skills about aspiring and getting others to believe in the aspiration? Human judgment. And so how do you set the right parameters, the architecture, based on firm values, based on societal norms, whatever? How do you build the skills to set what the right parameters are? And then finally, true creativity. Right? The models are inference models. The next most likely step, how do you think about orthogonal stuff? It can take you back to challenging some of your assumptions on where you look for talent. It actually means that where you went to school matters a lot less. And so do you start looking for raw intrinsics? Can you widen the base? Can you actually look at, let's take a tech background, not which university you graduated from, but what does your GitHub profile look like? Let's actually get to the content. And could that actually start meaning that a wider set of people can enter the workforce with different pathways?
Also at CES, McKinsey senior partner Bill Wiseman says people were buzzing about the real-world applications of AI.
So what am I talking about by that? Saw some quantum companies coming together with advanced compute companies and saying, what can we jointly take on? And that's questions of where you need real physical chemistry and physics simulation to be able to solve problems of molecular interactions, things like drug discovery. That was on display here this year. That's a real problem you can solve with advanced computing. Another one was an LLM that was controlling a surgical robot. So that's not one that you instruct to do surgery. That's one that you train to do surgery, and it figures out how to do it. And that was actually a kind of live spine surgery going on a dummy, not a live person. But it was pretty amazing to see that someone was actually able to demonstrate that.
Bill also says there was a focus on bringing down the cost of computing.
On the flip side, I'd say there was a lot of focus this year on cost of advanced compute. And that wasn't about chip cost or data center cost. That was about cost per token. And there was a lot of instruction about, okay, what drives advanced per token and how can you configure a data center differently to affect service levels and therefore bring down cost per token. So just there's a clear focus that cost matters and that we need to bring the cost of this down in order to continue to proliferate advanced compute.
Cost was on McKinsey senior partner Stephen Fuchs' mind as well. And he says that while these experiments in AI are exciting, he didn't hear enough conversation about how to create the systems required to meet this AI moment.
We are working in a brownfield environment. Every single company has existing workflows, has an existing set of people. How do we help the collective transition? It's great to have the use cases, it's great to have the pilots, it's great to push the thinking, but really scaling it is a system change. And so a lot of the conversations are around the edge case. They're not yet around how do we really create an ecosystem that allows us to extract value at scale.
One ecosystem that's gotten a lot of play is the one involving autonomous vehicles. McKinsey senior partner Martin Kellner was amazed at all the mobility advancements he saw at CES this year.
I was really shocked when I arrived yesterday. So many robotaxis on the roads. They are much more assertive. They are much more human-like, driving around even in adverse weather conditions. I now expect the industry to moving to commercial deployment in large-scale operations, meaning more cities, more cars on the road, but also more trips per car.
And he says industry leaders need to do three things to be successful this year.
First one is getting customer traction. Second one, being operational efficient and managing the cost. And third one, also building partnerships around the things they don't want to do themselves.
Bill Wiseman was impressed with the humanoid robots he saw at CES, but he says this time next year, he expects even more from them.
I think next year is going to be the year where we see real demonstrations of humanoid robotics at scale. Everybody had a robot. Those robots were moving very slow. They were doing interesting things, but they were boring to watch. And you realize that almost all the videos you see of those things are sped up probably by a factor of 10. The other thing that was impressive was the actuators and some of the elements of a robot. Those are the motors that move joints in robots, whether it's fingers or elbows or shoulders or legs. They're going to be able to generate a lot of force and torque, which is what you need for 300, 400-pound humanoid robots to become real. And the final thing I saw a lot of, it was really interesting, I think we're going to see in systems next year, are tactile sensors, making sure robots know how to touch without breaking and without dropping. And tactile sensors, not just in the hands, but in different places of the body, so you don't wind up making mistakes. And that's the one thing that I did see a lot of this year, a lot of talk about safety. Nobody's solved the problem of safety when it comes to robotics. That's going to be on display next year as well.
Thanks so much for listening to the McKinsey podcast. I'm Lucia Rahili.
And I'm Roberta Fasaro.
Find us on McKinsey.com. We'll have a transcript of this episode up shortly.
And download the McKinsey Insights app, where you can find this podcast and other helpful content updated daily.
If you enjoyed the show, we'd love for you to leave a rating and a review.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.